Good morning guys, Friday the 15th of January 2020. Thursday was a bit of a washout. It rained all day, wasn't able to get up here at all and do anything. As you can see, the garlic's all just pretty much standing still but doing well. The onions have made slight progress, and the radish is just standing still doing nothing. The main reason I'm in here though is because I'm hoping to get the birds that's going on the website video today. And it suddenly dawned on me after using the little wireless microphone that I purchased, I hadn't charged it up. Now, as some viewers will know, I have a solar system in here, little solar panel up on the roof, a little solar controller and a battery. And this was to control the irrigation system, and this is the wireless microphone, and this is a dual purpose system. Of course, it does have USB leads in here. And what I've done is basically just disconnected the pump, and we've plugged that into our wireless microphone, and hopefully you can see this on the camera. You can see it's charging up. So that shouldn't need much of a charge. We only used it for about an hour, I think, on the last video, thereabouts approximately. So I'm just going to go and put the kettle on, guys, leave this on charge, we'll have a cup of coffee, and at least that'll put something into the microphone. I'll see you shortly. Good morning guys, Friday the 15th of January 2020. I hope everybody's staying safe, being practical and keeping themselves out of harm's way, especially during down this lockdown that we're having. Hopefully people can stay safe long enough for us to get the vaccines rolled out. In fairness, the government are doing really well with over 3 million done at the moment, and long may it continue. Right, so today, hopefully, without any interruptions or pending other things cropping up, we're going to video the rest of the birds that's in the shed that I'm going to let go. And that's my intention. So I've just got the wireless microphone on charge inside the polytunnel now, as you've seen earlier. I've put the kettle on and I'm going to have my usual cup of coffee. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. I had a few jobs to do this morning. Yesterday was an absolute washout. It rained non-stop. In fact, it's rained non-stop for the last 3 days. So I haven't been able to get anything done yesterday up at the allotment. So we just had a nice chill out day. As you know, I was off Thursday and today and Saturday and Sunday. So we just had a nice chill out in the house. And yeah, okay, it was non-productive, but I enjoyed the day. Today we're hoping to get those birds videoed and then put up on the website sometime over the weekend or just after. I still have quite a number of things to do, so we'll get them videoed and let you see them first, and then when I get the time I'll put the photographs up on the website. So I'm just going to pause you out a moment. Right guys, I just paused you out for a moment there because I wanted to bring up the text that, as promised in the last video, that Robert, my friend, sent me through regarding some of the pigeons in the earlier video that we showed you when we were sorting through the birds of the cocks that we were going to keep. So first of all, I want to start off by saying the almond that we put the brown into, I wasn't trying to suggest that that was a brown stipper stroke almond. I just wanted to put some brown into the almond in the first phase. My goal with that is to actually produce brown almonds. But you need to get a crossover. So what we're hoping to do this time round is to pair that. It's technically a blue stipper, and that's another word for almond for people who don't know. And what we're trying to do is get a crossover and get the brown gene on the almond, so we end up with brown almonds. That's my goal. Now, this is from what I understand, it's a very difficult thing to do, but we're going to give it a go. That's just another little project I'm aiming for. Whether we achieve it or not, I don't know, but that's my goal. So potentially we will pair that almond cock to a brown hen this time round. Now, from Robert's notes, basically he's telling me we've got the brown in there, and it normally allows the recessive colours to show, which is the brown flecking that we have in that almond there. Basically, you need to get the crossover is needed so that the brown and almond stipper are on the same chromosome. You guys might understand this better than I do. Like I said, I'm no genetics expert and I'm relying on Robert's expertise here. And I just want to thank Robert again for this information. It's basically saying that cock will produce brown, if you get the crossover, your cock will produce brown hens, or I think he means this cock. This cock will produce brown hens and blue almond stipper, depending on his mate. If you do get the crossover, he will breed blue hens and almond stipper hens with only brown flecking. So that's very interesting, and that's the aim and the goal that I'm looking for there. I really do need Robert's help and assistance with this, and he's been very, very good at forthcoming with information. And he does this voluntarily, guys. Now, I am hoping at some point that Robert will, if not already, subscribe to the channel, and he might be able to put his notes direct in the links below the videos. One, not only will it benefit me, but it will benefit you guys out there that are wanting to learn about genetics. That, of course, is entirely free choice of Robert's. He may and he may not. So basically I mentioned about the almond cock as well, and I'd said basically I think it's just an almond. So I've been corrected by Robert. And Robert, almond and almond stipper are separate allays. I think that's the correct way of pronouncing this. On the ST locus. You have almond, qualmond, faded, and some less well-known ones. They all have different expressions, although some are similar. The main differences being that homologous almond stipper have eye problems. That's where it's got carrying two copies of the gene, the homologous, and if you try to mate almond to almond, for instance, that's not a good idea. Your birds will end up with either eye problems, or worse still, they'll be blind. I did actually produce a blind young almond, and I'm never going to try that again. But thanks to Robert's correction, we won't be doing that again. So always select one of the base colours, or at least in my opinion this is how it should be done, with either dark check, brown or blue bar. And you can use red as well. Well, you can use recessive red, but you can also use ash red as well. But the main difference is being that homologous almond and stipper have eye defects, whereas homologous qualmond and faded don't have the eye defects. So you can, as I first said, pair qualmond to qualmond. We'll find out whether that happens and whether he is a true qualmond, because I have a qualmond hen youngster that came off him last year, and she'll be paired back to the qualmond cock, and they should produce nothing but qualmonds in theory. At least that's what I'm thinking. Robert might correct me on that one as well. So I showed you an indigo cock, and I think I said it might have mealy in it. Again, he's pulled me up on that one. Thanks, Robert. The indigo, which was the light coloured one with the really steel coloured grey head, and it had like some brown casting through it. Now indigo does do that with pigeons. It puts a brown cast on checks and blues. It gives the blues brown bars, and it gives the checks a wash over with brown. But because it's so light, again, we believe that that's a homologous indigo. So it's carrying two copies of the indigo gene, which lightens the flights, lightens the body. So in theory, whatever he is paired to, he potentially will always produce a fair percentage of indigos. However, he's paired to an indigo as well. And I know I've sold youngsters looking very similar to him, and even lighter than him, which means they would also be homologous indigos. And now I know what they are. He does also say that the red may be due to the underlying pattern. It's perhaps checker. The very light coloured ones with the dark heads may be bar, and it's also possible that it may be caused by heterozygous recessive red. Now then, heterozygous recessive red, I'm no genetics, but I believe that's just one copy of. Now, this particular pigeon has produced recessive reds, so it's very interesting that Robert's never seen this bird, and he doesn't know what's being bred of it or anything, but it's hit the nail right on the head, because I have produced recessive reds out of that pigeon, along with a multitude of other colours. So I'm just scrolling through my notes here, guys. He even sent me a video of a similar bird that he bred, which was homologous indigo and spread. So I'm just going through the rest of the notes. So the white-barred opal cock, which I said was a project bird, I know he is an opal, but he said it isn't merely in that either. It may be an indigo, but I'm undecided on that, and it's difficult to tell because he's actually paired to an indigo hen. So we do get a percentage of indigos out. So he has in the past been paired to other birds and we got no indigos at all. So I'm going to assume he's not carrying the indigo, but I could be wrong, and Robert might be actually right. Or he does say, or if he's bred from two dominant opals. Now again, this is another pairing you shouldn't really do, but some people do it, and with success. The dominant opal, they can lighten the bars and give the birds white bars. Now I do know, and this is not from either Robert's notes, it's from a reading on the internet, that the best colour to pair to an opal white bar is indigo, because it does intensify the white bars. When you do get a white bar out, in theory, it should help with the white bar. He's also telling me that as Cuban had pointed out, Robert's also told me this in the past and I had forgot. The first frill stencil on that video with the tail spotting is frill stencil, not toy stencil. The toy stencil doesn't have the spotting in the tail. It's frill stencil that does. So we know he's a frill stencil, but he could be carrying some toy stencil as well. At least that's my belief. So he's telling me that the Lebanon frill stencil and toy stencils, toy stencil on its own doesn't have any expression in the tail, which is what I've actually just explained. And he also goes on to say, I think pairing your almond stipper to a brown hen will increase your chances of getting a crossover. That's what I plan to do. So Robert's also planning to do a similar project. So the theory I had was there. Robert has just confirmed it. And I trust Robert implicitly, by the way, because he helped me out when I was producing those frill stencil youngsters and toy stencil youngsters that we bred last year on the back end. And he advised me to go with the F1s back to the parents, and that's what we did. So I'm looking to put the blondinette lacing into the race pigeons ultimately. That's what I'm trying to do, which are also frill stencils because they have the spotting in the tail. And it's taken years and years of perfection to get that patterning so good in the oriental frills that it could be quite a lengthy project, guys. So we've toyed with lots of different ideas on how we could go about this, and I'm very, very limited on the frill stencil, toy stencil hens that I have. I've plenty of cocks, but the hens are really difficult to get. Now I do believe I've bred one or two in the youngsters that I've bred, but they're too young to breed from. So I have a what I believe is a toy stencil hen with is a white check. It's a Trigonino, which we may use to cross back into the other white checks that we have. Now, I'm not sure what the offspring will turn out, or even if the cocks will be able to mount such a small hen. But again, if we don't try, we'll never know. But in theory, if they're successful, we should get nothing but toy stencil youngsters out of those. At least that's the theory. My ultimate goal is to try and get the lacing into check birds or spread birds. But that's going to take a lot of selection and crossing, out crossing, in crossing, and crossing back to the parents. So it's a long project, guys. Excuse me, I only hope I live long enough to see the outcome. I'm just looking through my notes to see if there's anything else that I've missed. So he's also advising that the blondinets are most likely to be spread birds over a dark T pattern that is giving that laced effect. So that's probably what we're going to use going forward with those when we do cross them. But I do want, I need, because I only have these limited 6 birds and the 2 blondinets look like they're getting on in the years, I need to try and get some youngsters off those so that I've got a reserve. So I had asked him, so basically a black-white check is a better cross, and would this also work with a brown spread? And he basically tells me yes, it would work with a brown spread, and then probably a lot of selection for the degree of lacing that you want. And bear in mind it's taken many years of selection to achieve the lacing in the oriental frills. So an outcrossing and attempting to recreate the same quality of lacing may take quite a bit of genetic juggling. This is where we're going to need to rely on Robert. Thanks again, Robert. As he says, there's no reason why it can't be done, but I've seen very few well laced frill stencil outside of the old frills. But maybe crossing back to the old frill every few generations, you would get to your goal quicker. 2 steps forward and 1 back, as the old adage goes. He also suggested, have I considered crossing the blondinet to a Lebanon? Now that would, in theory, we're going to get some rather large birds, but then the original youngsters I've bred have got racing pigeon in once, and then we've gone back to the Lebanon. So that again was a step forward and 1 back. And the birds don't look too bad in type and size. So if we can get something with some nice lacing in, no matter what its size or type in the first cross, that could be a real good cross. And potentially we can then move forward with those birds, cross back to the race birds, and then we're going to have to go back again. And it's going to take me a year or 2 to achieve this, guys. There's no mistake about it, but hopefully that's what we're thinking about doing. We've certainly got enough birds that we can select from and try with, but I really do need to get the frill stencil, the blondinets and the satinets crossed together in the first instance. I need to get some youngsters off those, because I know 1 or 2 of the satinets, although they're not wrong, you can tell they're not that old. However, the 2 blondinet cocks appear to have quite a bit of age about them. And I'm only hoping I can get a couple of rounds out of these birds, and hopefully with the satinets in the first instance, to get some more young satinet blondinets. That's the first and ultimate goal. So this year we might not do any crossing. It depends entirely on how the breeding season goes from those blondinets. We're ultimately going to try and breed some more, so we've got a reserve of stock. Anyways, I've babbled on for long enough now, guys. This video is going to turn out massive. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee now. I just wanted to give you those notes from Robert, and as I say, hopefully if Robert does sign up, he may leave comments in the sections below and correct me. I don't mind being corrected by anyone, because I'm no genetics expert, and I do appreciate your comments in the sections below. I really do. It might even set off a chain of debates, but please, no arguments or calling names to anyone at all. That's not what this channel's about. It's hopefully to help people going forward. I also just want to say at this point, thanks very much again for all your subscriptions, guys. We're up till about 176 or something like that now. Let's see if we can get to 200 before the end of January. That would be really good. I'll see you shortly. Right guys, because this videos actually ran on quite a lengthy time with all the talking about genetics, I've decided we're going to do this in 2 videos. So this is going to be the first one, just talking about the genetics and corrections on some of my birds. And then I'm going to make the video of the birds that's to go up on the website in the next video, which will follow this one up. Okay guys, for now, stay safe, be practical and keep yourselves out of harm's way. And we'll see you in the next video, which will be very soon.